In this video, we're going to look at how to create a team for your classes in Microsoft Teams and how to add students. We'll also look at some of the settings and how to add channels. So the first thing I want to point out is if you have a new laptop, so middle school teachers or new teachers to the county, or if you have never set up the Teams app on your computer. The first thing you want to do when you restart your computer on a school network is you will probably see this pop up. When you see this pop up, your email address may be already populated in this box. If it is, you want to click sign in. If your email address is not in there, just type in first.last@Bartow email address and click sign in. And what that does is that finalizes the installation of the Teams app on your laptop. Once you do that, you'll have the Teams icon that you can go to instead of having to use the online version. So when you do that, you'll be taken to your team. And if I want to see what teams I'm a member of, I'm going to click on this Teams button on the left. If I click it once, I'll be taken to the last team that I accessed. If I click it again, I'll be taken to the list of all of my teams. So if I want to create a team for one of my class periods, I'm going to click on the Join or Create Team button in the top right. Choose Create a Team, and you'll be given 4 options. We recommend choosing the class option, give it a name, and click Next. After you create that team name, you'll be taken to the section where you can add students. If you don't feel like adding your students at this time and you just want to create the team, you can skip this step. But I'm going to go ahead and start adding students. You can add by typing in their name, or you can add by typing in their student ID, which is their lunch number. And if you have a student that has a name, if multiple students have the same name, double check with that ID number and make sure you're adding the correct student. Click Add. They'll be taken to this list here. You can also add teachers. So if you have a co-teacher, click Add and then Close. Once you're done adding your students, you'll be taken to the general page of that team. So this general page, I can post. You have all of the same features that you did before when we were using Teams to collaborate. Across the top, you have options. You can add other tabs to add more things to your team. You have your posts, which is just the general landing page where you can have a thread, a conversation. You can upload files for your students to look at and use. You have access to your class notebooks if you use OneNote. You can give your students assignments, and you can give your students grades, and we'll talk more in detail on those. But the main thing that I want to point out to you in this video are the settings within your team. So if I go to my second period math title and I click on the ellipses next to that, click on Manage Team. When you click on Manage Team, you'll be taken to the Members tab, so it shows everybody that's an owner and all of the students. Here you can add additional members. And one thing I want to point out here is this Mute Students section. So this doesn't do what we think it should. When we click mute, that doesn't mute their microphones. What this does is this takes away their ability to use the chat feature when you're actually in a video conference. So if you want to control that so your students can't chat, this is where you could do that. I'm going to skip this Channels tab for now and go to the Settings tab. Here you can change the theme of your team. You can control your students' permissions a little bit more here. And I want to skip down to this team code. So if you skipped that step where you were adding your students, you can give them this team code and they can join that way. So if you click Generate, it's going to give you a unique code. Share this with your students. They can type it in and they'll be taken to your course. Fun stuff is where you can give your students the options to use GIFs and memes. And we'll talk more about these in another video. So I'm going to go back to my general page. So if you're ready to go, you have all of your students added, you can start meeting right away by clicking this Meet button in the top right. If you click this little down arrow, you have the option to create a meeting right now, or you have the option to schedule a meeting. When you click Schedule, you can give it a title, you can add your students, add some dates, and then click Send. and that's going to create a meet for you. or you have the option to just click Meet, which is going to start a meeting right now. You have the option to turn your camera on and off. Give it a subject. And click Meet. So this has created a meeting in my General tab, so any student in this class can access this meeting. You have your Participants button right here, which shows everybody that's currently in the meeting. You can see I'm the only one here, and it gives you suggestions, which are the other students that are in your class. So I'm going to go to my student computer and actually join. Now I'm in a meeting where my students have joined. So you can see that there are 4 people in the meeting right now, including myself and my 3 students. Currently, the most that Teams will show is 9, but they're working on expanding that to show more. But right now we can see at the most 9 people. So over along the side you have the option to mute and unmute your students. Currently, students also have permission to mute and unmute each other. You have the option to invite other people to the meeting by typing their name here, or you have a link here that you can copy and share either through email. You could share that on Schoology. You could post that into another team. So say you have a first period team and a second period team, and you want them all to be on one video conference together. You could copy this link and share it out so you could have multiple teams joining together. In the conversation, this is where you and your students can type back and forth to each other, but remember you can turn this option off for students in the Manage Team and then muting your students in the Manage Team setting, and that will turn off their ability to chat here. You have the option to raise your hand as well as your students, sharing your screen, and then muting yourself and then turning on and off your camera. The 3 dots right here give you more actions. So ending your meeting, starting a recording, all of these options you can use. One of the things I want to point out is when you are meeting in a general tab like we're doing right now, students also have the option to start recording. But when they start recording, you'll see a notification pop up across your screen. So I'm going to go to one of my student laptops and I'm going to start recording from my student laptop. So you can see that I got a notification up here saying that somebody started recording. So if I don't want that student recording, I just go to More Actions and I click Stop Recording and then Stop. So now that's being stopped. When you click on the Participants tab, there's these 3 dots in the top. Those give you some additional settings to help control the students in your video conference a little more. So I'm going to click on those, and it's going to take me to click on Manage Permissions, and it's going to take me to a website that's got a couple different options to help me. So the first one, who can bypass the lobby? So what is a lobby? The lobby is essentially a waiting room for people coming in to your video conference. I like to have this on, so what I do is I click on that and I click Only Me. And what that's saying is I'm the only person who doesn't have to go to the lobby. A lobby is great for students because what it does is it allows you to decide when they can come into the video conference, and if you want to say remove them from the video conference, you can do that without them being able to hop back in. Another thing that I like to have turned on is announce when callers join or leave. And what this does is this gives me a notification if somebody's coming into my meeting or leaving my meeting. Who can present? So if you have this set to everyone, this makes it so that students can share their screen and essentially take over that meeting, sharing their screen or whatever it is that they want to control. So I like to turn this to Only Me. And this gives only me permission to control the video conference unless I want to give that specifically to somebody else. So those are the ones that I like to have set to only me. You can click Save and you can go away from that. So now what's going to happen, let's say that I have a student who's not doing what I want them to do in my video conference. I'm going to click on that name, and I'm going to remove that participant from the meeting. So now what's going to happen on their end is they're going to get a notification that says you were removed from the meeting, and they'll be given the option to rejoin. So if that student clicks rejoin, which I'm going to do for my other laptop, you'll see that now it says waiting in the lobby, and that student's name shows up right there. So they are not in my meeting yet. They haven't joined. They won't be able to speak or chat. They're in the waiting room. So if I want that student to join, I can click check, yes, let them in, or I can click that X, no, I don't want them to be in my meeting. So I'm going to let this student back in. And now you can see that she can participate again in the meeting. So another thing that I want to point out to you is if you are doing a video conference with your students, the only way to get all of your students completely out of the meeting is for them to leave, and then you're the last one that leaves the meeting. If you leave a meeting before them, they can stay behind and continue chatting with each other. So you have the option before to click the 3 dots and remove everybody, and then you can leave. Or you can wait and make sure all of your students exit before you do. So keep that in mind when you're leaving a video conference with multiple students. So I can click remove, remove, and then once nobody's in the meeting except for myself, I'm going to hang up. And you know that a meeting is finished when in your feed it no longer says join, and instead it says meeting has ended. One way to keep your team organized, say you want to break students up into groups where they go off into a breakout session and work together while another group's doing the same thing on their end, is to create channels. So to create channels, click on those 3 dots next to your team name and click on Add Channel. Give the channel a name, so I might just call this Channel 1, or maybe you want to call it Group A, or you might want a channel for each subject. It's up to you. Name it what you want. You can give it a description if you maybe want to put the names of the people who are in that channel or what the purpose is. And then we have privacy. So if it's set to standard, that's giving that channel to every member of that team. So every student will be able to see that channel and use that channel, meaning they can enter that breakout room. You can also set this to private, which only gives access to the students to which you assign this channel. So I'm going to choose private because in a private channel, students cannot record and students cannot create a meeting on their own. So it's essentially controlled by the teacher and nobody else. In a public channel, so if I had this set to standard, students are able to record, but they can't meet by themselves. So either way, students can't create a meeting by themselves. You're just having to decide, do you want it to be public and let them record it, or do you want it to be private and they can't record it? And then again, private, only the students that you assign that private channel to can access it. So I choose private. I'm going to click next, and it's going to ask me which students I want to be in that group. So I'm going to assign it to specific students. And now only those 2 students are going to have access to that group. So I might want channel 1 to be for those specific students, and maybe I want to create another channel for another set of students. And again, I'm going to make it private, so only the students I choose can join. And maybe I want Caroline to be in there too. So I'm going to add that. And done. So now you can see that they have the little lock icons next to it. That's how you know that that is a private channel. Once you create your channel, you can't go back and change the privacy of it. So once it's set to public, it can only be public. Once it's set to private, it can only be private. The only way to fix that is to delete the channel and create a new one with the settings that you want. So now you can see I'm in my general. This is my landing page that all students have access to. Channel 1 has a similar feel. You can still post, but now only those students within that channel can post there or see anything there. And then the same thing with channel 2. So if you're having a synchronous session with your class, so you have your class of 30 students and you have them all on teams together, Channels is a great way to break them up into groups and a great way for you to be able to work with them on a smaller scale. So let's say that I'm in general and I'm having my meeting with my students. When you're in a meeting, a video conference with all of your students, you have the option to go from one meeting to another. So this is my main meeting in my general channel. If I go back and click on Teams, I'll be taken back to my last channel that I was in, so in my general channel, and you can see that I have the little video icon next to that channel. So let's say I want to make a sub video or a sub video conference within another channel that only a few students can access. I can click into that channel and I can click Meet. I can start meeting with those specific students. So you see how here in the suggestion only these two students are popping up? That's because those are the only two students that are in that channel. And then see over here where it says general hold, that means that I'm no longer in that general chat, I'm on hold. Everybody in that conference is still there. I can click back into it, but right now I'm actually in a channel. So those students that are in that channel can go into that chat on their end. So you can see here that this student is joining. And so they work the same way that regular video conferences do. It's just now you have the option as a teacher to hop in from one chat to the other. So if you're moderating groups and you want to be able to hop in and out, you can do that. And anytime you want to go back to your other chat, you can click this button here and it'll take you back. So now I'm in general and you can see over here that this meeting is on hold. So it's quick for you to hop back and forth between one to the other. You can hang up. And remember, if you hang up and your students don't hang up before you, they can still be in the chat. You have the ability to get back to either of those by clicking into the channel. You can see that a meeting is still going on with that icon. You have the option to click back in and join. And remember, if you click on participants, you have the option to have more settings here so you can control what they can and can't do a little better. And you have the option to kick them out by removing them. And once they're all removed and you're the only member left, you can hang up. And you can see that that join disappears. And that's how you know that the video conference is over, as well as now that video icon is no longer showing up there. So I can click back here. I can join back in. Click on my participants. I can kick her out. And then once she's gone, I can hang